Hello, everyone. Welcome to your second virtual Learn and Earn of 2018, making sense of your dollars today. So we're going to talk about how you can keep track of your income and tell it what to do and keep track of what you make and keep more of it if you want to. So one of the things that we want you to have in hand or maybe on a second screen is going to be something called the monthly cash flow plan. And there is a link to this document either in the email that you received this link in, or it's on our Creation Health Employees webpage under the Learn and Earn. So you can find it there, and we would encourage you to either print it out and maybe pause this video, print it out and have it next to you, or again, just having it on the screen so that you have it for reference when we go over it together. And then you can also print it out after that. So first of all, today I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Bryce Connor. I'm the Creation Health Consultant for Winter Park and a co-consultant at Orlando. And I'm happy to be presenting with...
Hi there, my name is Amanda Saxton, and I'm excited to be here with you today. I first want to share a little bit about why I'm so passionate about budgeting. I know that sounds funny, but when I was in college, I had no idea what I was doing with money, and I really was struggling a lot. And I had a mentor in my life who kind of took me under her wing and showed me the budgeting principles. And let me tell you, it literally changed my life. She showed me the different budgeting categories, and I just really felt like I could breathe after I started implementing these principles. And instead of not knowing where all my money was going, I actually had a plan before the month began. And so I'm here to encourage you because I know how it feels. And so we are actually going to take you through these budgeting principles today. And so I hope you're ready because we have a lot to share with you guys.
So first off, let's lay out what our objectives are going to be for the next about 30 minutes today. The first one is going to be to define a budget, tell you exactly what it is and that you don't have to be fearful of it. The benefits of having a budget and how that's going to help you make beneficial, positive impacts in your life in many different ways. And then how to make this budget work, how it works. We'll walk you through those steps and then tips for keeping on track once you have established that budget.
All right, so with every Learn and Earn, we want to start with the why. And I love this quote over here. It says, "Everything is the Lord's. We are only stewards of it." And there's a verse in Psalms 24:1 that says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it." And so no matter who you are or what you believe, everything is a gift from God. And so recognizing that the principle of stewardship, and stewardship is a key value for Florida Hospital. And I know that word stewardship is thrown around a lot, and it actually means, from the Webster's Dictionary version, it says the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. So stewardship does not only include your finances, it actually includes your time, your skills, your knowledge, and experiences. But we have to recognize that God has entrusted us with resources, and so how will we manage what He has given us? And so for you personally, I want you to think about, why is it important to steward your resources well? And how can you be a good steward with the resources you have been given? And so I want us to dive deeper into this topic today. But first, have any of you guys felt like this picture here?
Yeah, I know I have. I know that I really need to save money, and I know that I need to save money. It was especially like after I just bought my car. I'm like, okay, I need to save money so I can make good payments on my car. And you get distracted. You have that goal in your head, but without making it solid and putting it down on paper and making it something that's a real hard set in stone goal, you can get distracted and you can get off track. And so let's talk about a couple of kind of scary facts when it comes to finances in the United States. And we'll let you give a couple thoughts on it after that. So Americans as a whole owe more than $1.2 trillion in educational debt. So that means the average student loan is about $28,000. And so I don't know about you, but I know I am in that boat. I am contributing to that educational debt. I'm paying off my loans, and it's going to take a while. So knowing that is contributing to that, and something that's one of my goals is to start paying that off quicker. The average car loan is more than $30,000. So thinking about how your money could be working for you a little bit better so you don't have to take as big of a loan. And then that makes your average monthly payment about $500 a month. So think about if you would have had maybe more of a savings to put more down on that car, you wouldn't have to take as big of a loan. You wouldn't have as big of an average monthly payment. The average credit card balance is more than $15,000, and that can get dangerous, spending the money that we don't really have, and contributing to maybe some stress in your life that could be preventable. And then lastly, 50% of Americans have less than 1 month's income saved for emergencies. So thinking about if something were to happen to you or to a loved one that is going to take you out of work and make it so that you don't have a regular income, you need something to fall back on. And so knowing that having a savings for at least a month's worth of income for an emergency situation is going to be very beneficial and give you peace of mind.
All right, so when we talk about finances, it's really more than money. It's more than just the cash you have in your bank account or whatever, but it really has to come down to what are your priorities. And so for you, it may be your family and being there for them and providing. Also, it could be travel. Do you really want to take a vacation with your family or go to a location that you've been wanting to go to? Or do you want to go back to school, but you don't want to pay the loans to do that, or whatever is your priority? Also, would you like a paid-for house? How awesome would that be down the line? Also, do you want to be debt-free? And not only debt-free for the sake of it, but also what can you give when you're debt-free? Or maybe even if volunteering is important to you, or different causes or passions that you have, what could you do with that? But I want to ask you a question here. What can you sacrifice now to get what you want later? So when we have our priorities and our goals in focus, and we have some concrete action steps, we're able to better sacrifice now for what we want later. So how do we get there?
That's a great question. So you've got your goal, you've got your end location in mind, but how do you get there? You need a roadmap. And your roadmap is going to be this budget that we're going to walk you through. And so Amanda in just a second is going to talk about what a budget is, and it's not something to be afraid of. So let's let her talk about that.
All right, so that dreaded B word we have, sometimes it makes people squeamish and feel like, oh, I can't have a budget. What? Amanda, you're not telling me I have to have a budget? That's just like a straitjacket. But let me tell you, it's not a straitjacket. Actually, a budget is permission to spend. But first, what a budget is not. It's not just keeping up with the bills, quote unquote. It's not paying a bill and, okay, you got the money in it, okay, you're good. And it's also not just in your head. So it's not just knowing what you have as income and expenses, but it's actually what a budget is. It's on paper, on purpose, before the month begins. And before you spend a single dollar or a single cent, you tell your money what to do. And this is forward facing. It's looking at the coming month and seeing what you have coming up. And you list the categories you have that you need to spend in. And I want to share with you guys some principles here of the give some, save some, and spend some categories. And so sometimes we don't know what those categories are, but we'll show you later in the session more of those categories. But the principles of giving first, right? Whatever you can give. Some of us can't give and some of us can give more, but recognizing that principle of giving first, and also saving first, or saving as well, and also spending. But do you see how when you have these priorities and perspective, we have a balance in life, right? Because we don't save all of our money. That's not living life, but we also don't spend it all, so we don't have any. And we also have to recognize this balance in our life. But Bryce wants to share something. Yes.
I would just like to share that these jars are actually like a perfect way to especially train your children on how to let their allowance go to the places that it needs to go. My mom used little baby food jars. When I got my allowance, she told me that I needed to split it up between my giving. So that was like my church, my offering fund, and then my savings and my spending. And that was something that was really helpful for me. I knew if the ice cream truck came, I could grab out of my spend jar, but I couldn't grab out of my save jar. So that's just a tip that you could use for your children.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, Grace. And something else I want to mention with the budget is what's called a zero-based budget. And that means that every dollar has a category or assignment and no money is left over. So what does that mean? That means that if you do have money left over, you apply that to whatever goal you're working on, whether it's you're paying off your debt or saving for your emergency fund or your goals that you have. And we're going to explain more about this, what this means. But first, let's discuss some of those benefits of budgeting.
Yeah, so you're going to experience quite a few benefits of a good solid budget, but they could come in these different forms that you see on the screen. So you could have financial benefits. Obviously, it's going to help you know where your money is going, and you're going to be able to potentially have more money to spend than you did before, and you're going to be able to give it all a purpose. You could have relational benefits, so it could improve your relationships. Maybe you know that you fight with your spouse about where money is going and how it's being spent. And so with that conversation and knowing that you both have this budget in mind and you've worked through it together, there could be less confusion and so maybe fewer arguments. Spiritually, you could have some spiritual benefits in terms of knowing that your money and your resources are going to something that is valuable to you and is one of your personal values. And so whether it's serving God, whether it's serving others, that could be something that is going to give you some spiritual clarity. And then lastly, some emotional benefits could come into play when it comes to freedom. You could have peace of mind when you've had this budget down. You could have a positive outlook and more positive thoughts when it comes to your money instead of it being a stressful, worryful situation.
All right, so are you ready to get started here? We're going to take you through a deep dive into how to budget. And this is with your monthly cash flow plan. So with Bryce mentioned this at the beginning. If you haven't downloaded that yet, please pause this and download from the instructions this form because we want you to look at this while we're explaining this. But we have, so the Smart Dollar program is a really great program, which we'll explain later, but they have some really great videos that share about this. So we're going to show that to you. But first, they mentioned something about a quick start budget, and that is one of the videos of a simple budget, how to work that out. But we're actually going to share with you more in depth about the monthly cash flow plan that has more categories in it. So let's share this video with you, and then we'll discuss afterwards.
Hey, I'm Ken Coleman. Hopefully you've had some success working with the Quick Start budget. Now it's time to kick it up a notch and get into full-blown budget mode. I want to take a few minutes to help you understand the monthly cash flow budget form. This is the form you should use every month as you prepare your budget. It's essentially your home base form when it comes to budgeting. And yes, this form has a lot of lines and blanks. We get that, but there's no way you're going to write something on every single line of this form. We just put it all on the form to remind you of some of the little expenses that are easy to forget. If you see something that doesn't apply to you at all, then just skip it. And there are blank lines for anything we may have forgotten. Okay, let's get started. First, write in your monthly take-home pay in the box at the top of the first page. That's how much money you actually bring home in a month after taxes and any insurance or other kinds of deductions. Now, you'll notice that this form has a lot of different categories such as charity, savings, housing, utilities, and food. We've tried to break down every kind of monthly expense into one of these categories. That way, you'll know how much you're spending in each area. That can be a real eye-opener for some people who may have no idea how much they're spending on restaurants or debts. All you need to do for this entire form is go line by line in each category and write in any relevant expense. So, in the utilities category, for example, you'll write down what you expect to pay for each of those items for the month. This should be kind of familiar already if you've used the Quick Start budget. Get out last month's bills if you need to. You will want to be as precise as possible as you prepare your budget. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be a realistic plan. And speaking of realistic, keep in mind that there are no perfect months. Every month is different. You can't just make one budget and use it every month. If you run your air conditioner all summer, your power bill is going to be higher in the summer, just as your heating bill will be higher in the winter months. Keep those things in mind. That's why you need to do a new budget every month. You will see we've written in percentage figures next to each total box. Those percentages show you what percentage of your take-home pay Dave recommends for each category. This just gives you a little perspective on what you should aim for. If you see any areas that are way off, take a closer look and see if you can find some way to bring those expenses down. Okay, so after you have gone through all the categories on the form, you have budgeted for every expense. Now, let's look at the bottom of the second page of the form. First, we're going to write down our take-home pay again in the box provided. Under that, we're going to write in the total of all the different categories from the budget form. Just add up every category total and write that grand total here. Now, subtract the category totals from your take-home pay. The goal is for this number to be 0. That means you've accounted for every single dollar that you're going to bring home for the month. If you have money left over, then go back and adjust something in the budget. You could increase your savings for the month, or maybe even add that to your entertainment envelope. You can do whatever you want with it. It's your money. If you subtract your expenses from your take-home pay and it's a negative number, then that means you're planning on spending more than you're going to bring home. That's a bad plan. Go back through the budget and make any adjustments that you can to bring that overall total to 0. Remember, you can only spend what you'll bring in. When you've done that, you're ready to get paid. You know exactly what you're going to do with your money. You've got a plan and you know how to use it. Later, at the end of the month, go back to your budget form and write in how much you actually spent on each line in the spent column for each category. This shows you what you've budgeted versus what you actually spent for every item. And it's a great way to really hone your budgeting skills for the next month. Well, that's it for now. Remember, your first monthly budget probably won't work exactly right. Your second month will be a little better, and things will really start to get into a groove by the third month. Don't worry if things are bumpy at first. If you've never budgeted before, you're going to have to learn some new habits, and that takes a little while. The main thing is to stay focused and don't quit. So, grab a form and get started. You can do this.
You can do this. So I encourage you to download that form if you haven't and print it out if you can and really go through each of these categories and spend some time even at home if you have to pull out those bills and see what is a good budget total that you can input for those forms. So now we are going to give you some tools and tips for keeping on track.
All right, so you may have heard him say something about an entertainment envelope. And so what that means is that could be a tool for you is to physically have envelopes, as you see on the screen, that have those different categories that you could see on that monthly cash flow budget as well. So you could have an envelope for groceries, an envelope for restaurants, an envelope for entertainment, an envelope for clothing, all of those different things, so that you know exactly where that money goes. And in that envelope, you keep cash. You keep the amount that you have allocated to those categories in there, and once that envelope is empty for the month, you would have to pull from a different envelope, or you would have to just abstain from spending in that category. So that's something that's going to keep you accountable for the money that you're spending on each category. And then also another tool might be to keep those receipts from each of those spending items and spending categories in that envelope, so that if you need to adjust your budget for the next month, or just to keep track of how much money you've actually spent in that category, that might be something that would work for you. We have an app called the EveryDollar app, and I'm going to let Amanda explain a little more about that.
All right, so the EveryDollar app is an app where you can literally make your budget in 10 minutes or less. And so it's on your phone, or you can do it online, and it's part of the Dave Ramsey program, but it's free. And so I personally don't use this because I love the Excel sheet, but I have a brother who doesn't do much budgeting at all, and he started budgeting the past few months, and he says that he loves it. And it's really hands-on. It's right with him, right on his phone, that he can literally drag and drop the transactions into his budget and see right then and there how much he's spending and how much is left. So I highly recommend that if you want to. And it's free.
Thank you. So another app that's similar to that is Mint, and that also allows you to have a budget on your phone, and you can sync that up with your bank account, and so you can see where those expenses are and what categories they're going to in terms of the budget that you've established in the Mint app. Excel spreadsheet, like Amanda says, she uses Excel to keep track of her funds and her expenses, and that's something that may work for you. Creating something that looks appealing to you and is something that will work for you instead of somebody else's design might be helpful. Otherwise, just a straight good old pen and paper could be something that would work for you, whether it be on the monthly cash flow plan that we have provided for the link for you all to have. That could be something that's beneficial, or just a different way depending on how you would like to record your expenses and where your money should be going. And then lastly, we have a partnership with Dave Ramsey's Smart Dollar app, as well as the website, that with that you earn points within it, and then you also can earn Creation Health employee points toward your wellness incentive in order to work on your financial wellness, and that is a part of your overall wellness, because like we said, it's going to give you that peace of mind and help you feel a little bit better about your finances. Again, with Smart Dollar, that is a small donation to the Hope Fund. So that is something that helps our Florida Hospital employees to get back on their feet if they've had some financial struggles. But it's also going to help you, because it's not only just a tool to create your budget and to work on things like that, but it's also an educational piece. So if you're really not sure where to start, Smart Dollar might be a great place for you, so that you can learn some things about budgeting and finances. Instead of just being given the tools, you're going to be given the education and the tools as well.
Awesome. And just some tips for you guys. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get distracted and I can miss my why. Sometimes it's like, why am I sacrificing this? And oh man, but when I focus on what my goals are, what my priorities are, it's so much easier to then make those sacrifices. And it's easier for your family too to make those sacrifices when you focus on that why. And speaking of with your family, making it a team effort. So getting everyone on the same page, maybe openly talking to your spouse or your family and your kids, maybe saying, hey, for this period of time, we're going to be making some sacrifices and letting them know what's going to happen. Or maybe even if you're in a roommate situation, just sharing your hopes and dreams together to make that team effort. Also, start with the most important categories. So like Bryce mentioned with the envelope system, maybe starting small. If budgeting is new for you, you can start, maybe your food budget really needs some help, and you really need to get control of that. So using cash can help as well. And also, I don't know about you, but I spend less when I use cash, because sometimes when you swipe it, it's just, it's like, oh, it's no big deal, it's there, but there's actually physical evidence, or science shows that there's something in our brain that changes when we use cash. But I encourage you to start with those most important categories in budgeting too.
Yeah, it's hard to see that actual money go away, as opposed to just swiping, not really seeing it go.
Right. Also, giving every dollar a name. So like we mentioned before, starting before the month begins, you know what you're going to spend already. And so by doing that, you're keeping accountable with yourself. Also, paying off your debt. So if you have debt, I encourage you to attack it and get rid of it. And I know that's easier said than done, and there's other priorities that we have, but recognizing the importance of being debt-free and trying to take steps towards that. Also, be consistent and content. And sometimes it can be hard in our culture to, quote unquote, keep up with the Joneses and try to feel like everyone else has something different, and we want maybe what they have. But what are your priorities, and being content with what you have. And even if you have to sacrifice now, but recognizing what you want is going to be a lot better for you. Also, give yourself lots of grace. It usually takes 3 to 4 months to get a handle on the budgeting thing, and I know for me it took a long time for me to get in a groove and get consistent. But I encourage you, if you continue to take one step forward each time and really try, you'll definitely see the results and see the improvement with your financial wellness.
Awesome. Yeah, so for some things to remember when you are going through this process is just remembering that everything is a gift from God, and knowing that you are being a good steward of your resources is going to help you feel more content in your life, and knowing that it's benefiting others as well. And so going into that, what you give makes life rich. So knowing that giving back to others is going to make you and your life a lot more fulfilling and rich. And so if you have some of that extra money, once you've done that monthly cash flow budget and you realize you need to allocate it somewhere, maybe giving some more money into your giving or your donating category might be something that would help fulfill that life and make it a little more valuable. And then lastly, value people more than things. We know we're talking about money, and we know that money buys things, but think about how the money can help enhance your relationships instead of buying those cars and clothes and shoes and the things that can go away, whereas the relationships that you have are some things that you should value, and hopefully they won't go away. And so using that money to enhance your relationships, either by experiences, by vacations, by showing those people that you love them, maybe with small gifts or something like that, that might be something that you would like to remember in order to make budgeting a little more personal for you. So, as you may know, if you've watched another webinar with us before, you know that there is a secret phrase. And so this secret phrase is going to be something that you need to enter in, it's multiple choice, into a survey. So the survey should be coming on that email that you got this link from, or again, it's on creationhealthemployees.com under the Learn and Earn category, where you can find the link to the survey. The survey is proof that you watched this video and proof that you will get points if you get the secret phrase correct in that survey. So the secret phrase for this session is, everything is the Lord's. We are only stewards of it. So I would encourage you to pause your video right now, take a picture of it, write this down. This is something that you will need to enter into the multiple choice question in the survey. And if you aren't sure where the survey is, please email your CHC or check our, again, creationhealthemployees.com website in order to get the link to that survey. So everything is the Lord's. We are only stewards of it.
And sometimes we just need some inspiration. I don't know about you, but sometimes if I look at debt-free screen videos and see other people really working towards their goals and sacrificing, it's really inspiring to me. So we have a link on the instructions page to this video. It's about 4 minutes long, but it's about a nurse who really made some sacrifices to get out of debt, and it's very inspiring and almost makes me want to cry, to be honest with you. And so I highly encourage you watching this. And just so a few things to note. Are you ready to get started? I hope this Learn and Earn has inspired you to make some changes and start on your budgeting journey if you haven't already. And so register for Smart Dollar. We've been talking about this the whole time. That program really gives you some instructional videos and also has all of the forms, the budgeting forms, and even more forms that you can check out. But you can earn those points for the Creation Health Wellness program and get started on that today. Also, like I mentioned earlier, the free EveryDollar app. I encourage you right now, take out your phone and go to the App Store and click on this free app and start making your budget even online on your phone if that's a better option or a method that would work best for you.
All right, so we've been talking a little bit about points, and if you're wondering where they are not going to magically appear on WebMD as soon as you take your survey. We have an awesome person who uploads all of your points, and so it takes a little bit of time. So your points will be uploaded on a quarterly basis, so keep an eye out for those at that point.
Thank you for being here for our webinar today. We really appreciate you being here. I hope you will take advantage of some other of our Creation Health programs. You can go to creationhealthemployees.com to find out all of the other info that we have.
Yeah, thank you all. We hope that you have some great success in budgeting, and let us know how your budgeting journey is going and if this webinar has impacted your success.
Thank you.
Thank you.